What is up, guys? It's James from Cop Logic, and the under 21 Euros begins tomorrow, so it feels like a good time to have a bit of a transfer roundup and discuss a number of our targets that are going to actually be taking part in the under 21 Euros. Get you all up to speed on where we're at with everyone and what exactly is going on in this transfer window. Before I get started, if you could just do us a big favor and hit that like button down there. It's free to do and it really helps the channel out in terms of pushing this video out and getting it on more eyes. Make sure you hit subscribe and hit the bell for notifications when we put out videos, and you can stay up to date with all of the news as and when it comes. Speaking of news, let's get into it. So first of all, let's talk about Manu Kone. The situation with Manu Kone hasn't really moved for a couple of weeks now, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. So last we heard was that personal terms have been agreed with the player, and there's basically been no movement on that since. It's been about 2 weeks now since we've really heard anything concrete. What we did hear was that Liverpool have prioritized Khephren Thuram, and everyone else was basically taking a back seat until they got that deal over the line, which would include someone like Manu Kone in that sort of backseat position at the moment. And probably the most interesting thing regarding Manu Kone, which lines up with the fact that we might just be waiting to get Thuram over the line first, is that he plays for Borussia Mönchengladbach, and Mönchengladbach's current sporting director is Nils Schmatke, who is the son of Jörg Schmatke, Liverpool sporting director. So if Liverpool were to do a deal with Mönchengladbach on Manu Kone, it would literally be father and son negotiating. So you would imagine it'd be a fairly painless process. We know Manu Kone wants to come here. We know he's a Liverpool fan, so we would hope that would be a painless process and a deal that Liverpool could get done fairly quickly. So it would make sense that he would be one of the targets that Liverpool are putting on a bit of a back burner while they focus on a higher priority. So the silence around Manu Kone is not necessarily a bad thing at this stage. Bear in mind he is going into the under 21 Euros tomorrow, so things are definitely going to quieten down on him. Next guy that I want to talk about is Gabri Veiga. Things are fairly simple with Gabri Veiga. As far as I'm aware, the situation is as follows. Liverpool like the look of the player and they're monitoring the player, but that's about it. No official bid has been sent regarding Gabri, and the last update we really got was from Fabrizio Romano, basically saying that Liverpool are prioritizing a more physical midfielder at this stage, which is basically Manu Kone and Khephren Thuram. Khephren Thuram being the priority target for Liverpool. So again, it adds up that we've not really heard anything regarding Gabri Veiga because we still don't have a concrete answer on Khephren Thuram either way. Which brings us nicely onto Khephren. I am going to circle back around to Khephren. I want to talk about him at the end, so just bear with me here. Basically, the situation with Thuram at the moment is that there's really been no movement since Friday. What we know is that personal terms have been agreed with the player. We believe an initial price has been agreed with Nice. Add-ons and the structure of the deal is still being worked on, so nothing's yet done. There is still work to be done. That's the last thing we heard. That was 4 days ago. Stick with me, I am going to come back to Thuram, but before I do that, I want to talk about Ryan Gravenberch, because there was a report that came out yesterday involving him and Liverpool directly. So Ryan Gravenberch plays for Bayern Munich. He's 21 years old. He'll also be in the under 21s Euros as of tomorrow. Now, he has basically had no game time at the club and he's actively looking for a move. It was reported yesterday by Colin Miller. He put a tweet out that suggested Liverpool were pushing to sign Ryan Gravenberch. He is so far the only journalist I've seen that's really mentioned anything regarding that. I'm not sure how reliable that is. He hasn't really had any game time with his club and he actively wants a move. He could just be putting his name out there into the sort of stratosphere while the window's open and hoping to get a move. So take that one with a pinch of salt for now. I do have some concerns around it. Obviously, he's going to be a lot cheaper than our current targets. The rumored price for Gravenberch is around 20-25 million, and the likes of Khephren Thuram, we're talking 40 to 45 million, so he's basically like half the price of a Thuram. You know, that's the kind of thing FSG, maybe their eyes are lighting up at that and they're thinking about going in for a player like Gravenberch as a cheaper alternative to Khephren Thuram. I pray that that's not the case, because make no mistake, Khephren Thuram is the best player on this list. If you asked me to pick one player to bring into Liverpool from this list, it would absolutely be Khephren Thuram. If you asked me to pick two for a partnership, it would be Khephren Thuram and Manu Kone. If we could get the two of them in, I think that would seriously set us up for the future. Don't forget, the two of them are French. They're going to actively be playing with each other in the French national team. They'll be alongside Ibrahima Konate at a senior level. I mean, can you imagine that in the Liverpool squad in the future? You know, we go away for an international break and three of our players are playing together with each other, building that rapport, building that chemistry. It's the absolute perfect pairing. If we only get two more deals done, I'd pray that it would be them two. Let's wait and see. The one thing I'm hoping here is that Ryan Gravenberch is not being looked at as a cheaper alternative to Khephren Thuram, with things on him going a little bit quiet over the last 4 days. In terms of Ryan Gravenberch, I believe he is basically at the same stage as Gabri Veiga, in that the club are interested in him, the club are monitoring him. No official bid has been made, nothing's been discussed with the player on personal terms. It's believed that Ryan Gravenberch is a Liverpool fan. Obviously, there have been Dutch Liverpool players in the past and present right now, so he has been spotted wearing Liverpool shirts, etc., supporting Liverpool throughout recent campaigns. You know, he's the kind of player that would be a very, very easy link to Liverpool. You could call it lazy journalism, but let's wait and see. Let's put a pin in that one. I'm just praying it's not some cheap alternative for FSG over Khephren Thuram if something has become a sticking point with Nice. But let's move on to Khephren Thuram, because that's what everyone wants to hear about. I'm going to be upfront with this one. It's basically been radio silence for 4 days. We haven't heard really anything either way. Whether that's good or bad is kind of hard to say at this point, because we're talking about Liverpool Football Club. So the situation with Thuram is that the last thing we heard was, obviously personal terms have been agreed since they were also agreed with Manu Kone probably about 2 weeks ago. But since then things have really advanced with Khephren Thuram, and discussions with Nice have definitely been ongoing. We believe that an initial price was agreed with Nice. We don't know what that is, but we expect it to be around 40 to 45 million. The sticking point was that Liverpool and Nice hadn't yet agreed on add-ons in the deal, so the actual structure of the deal itself. They were hopeful that they'd get that done by today, which was the soft deadline for the under 21 Euros. Now, it's basically just unprofessional to approach a player and distract a player while he's playing away with his national team. Obviously, we've not got that done by today, and the under 21 Euros begins tomorrow, so don't be surprised if things are quiet on Khephren Thuram and all of these targets, because they will all be in this tournament for the next couple of weeks. So as I said, don't be surprised if things are a bit quiet from now on. But specifically on Thuram, with the radio silence over the last 4 days, the fact that it's quiet is not necessarily a bad thing. When you actually look at how Liverpool work in the past with transfers and things, being loud and putting their business out there is not normally what they do. And it's interesting that Khephren Thuram was very, very, very close. At least if what we believe is true, that an initial deal was agreed with Nice, really all that needed to be done was to structure that deal and then obviously send the player for his medical. So it's very odd that things have gone so quiet at such an intense stage of the transfer process. And it honestly could be that maybe something has been agreed behind closed doors and Liverpool are waiting on that impending, announcement. We've had players in the past and transfers in the past where the press have only really found out about the transfer hours before it's about to become official. It happened with Cody Gakpo, for example. So the fact it's been so quiet isn't necessarily a bad thing. I'm going to be sincere about this. I don't want to get people's hopes up. This channel isn't about putting out fake news. Like, I want to be upfront with people. I'm not saying that that's the case and that take this as a good sign. It could equally be that Liverpool have found a sticking point with Nice that they can't get past and they're deciding to walk away from the deal, which would explain why Ryan Gravenberch things heated up yesterday. But as I said, that's one journalist that I've really seen pushing that story around about Gravenberch, and I'm really hoping that he's not just some cheaper alternative that FSG is seeing as a way to get around this Thuram 45 million price or whatever. If we can't afford 45 million on Khephren Thuram, I think some serious questions have to be asked about FSG. Let's wait and see what happens, because as I said, the silence could not be a bad thing. We might hear rumblings from the international camp when Thuram's able to talk a bit more freely, perhaps. Let's wait and see if anything comes out over the next couple of weeks. But I expect things to really start to explode once this tournament ends, because essentially all of our targets that we're looking at, especially in the midfield, are all taking part in this tournament. I'm certainly not convinced that things are over with Khephren Thuram. I think there's still more to do. We could still see something in the coming weeks regarding that. So stay tuned to the channel, because obviously if we do get any updates, we will let you all know. Pop a comment down below and let me know out of these targets who you'd like to see at the club. Hopefully we can get 2 more midfield signings done. If there was only one, for me it would be Khephren Thuram. If it's 2, it's Khephren Thuram and Manu Kone. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you think of Ryan Gravenberch, especially because obviously he had that report yesterday from Colin Miller. But for me personally, it's Khephren Thuram and Manu Kone all the way. Up the French Revolution. Allez le Rouge.